In this video, we're going to be talking about graphs of parallel and perpendicular lines. So remember that parallel lines have the same slope. They never intersect or cross. So here we have an example of two parallel lines. Let's prove that they're parallel by finding their slopes. So I'm going to begin by looking at this line right here and finding the slope. To find the slope, I'm going to use rise over run. And so if I look at this first slope, I'm going to pick 2 points. I'm going to pick this point right here, and let's see, this point right here. So I go up 1 over 1. So the slope of this line is 1 over 1, which is 1. Now I'm going to find the slope of this bottom line. So when I do that, I'm going to pick 2 points that fall on that line. So this point and this point. I go up 1 and over 1. So the slope of this line is 1 over 1, which is 1. They have the same slope. So I know for sure that they are parallel lines. And even when we go off the graph, they're going to keep going up in this direction and keep going down in this direction. And they're never going to cross each other. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Perpendicular lines cross at 90-degree angles. So we need to make sure that these two are opposite reciprocals of each other, their slopes. And to do that, I'm just going to again do the same thing. I'm going to do rise over run for slope. So for this line right here, I'm going to pick 2 points that fall on that line. Any 2 points. So I'm going to pick this point, and I'm going to pick this point. So again, I'm using rise over run. So I go up 1 and then over 1, 2. So the slope of that line is 1/2. For my other line, I'm going to pick 2 points that fall on this line. And remember that you want points that line up perfectly on the grids. So let's see. This is a good point, and this is a good point. So I'm going to do rise over run. So I go down 2, so -2, and right 1. -2 over 1 is the opposite reciprocal of 1/2. So these are perpendicular lines, and so they cross and they make a 90-degree angle. So let's look at some examples. It says on example 1, are these lines parallel, meaning they have the same slope and they'll never cross? Perpendicular, meaning their slopes are opposite reciprocals and they cross at 90-degree angles? Or neither? So not the same and not opposite reciprocals. How do you know? Well, we got to find the slope of both of these lines. And again, I'm using rise over run. If it helps you, remember, going up is positive, going right is positive, going down is negative, and going left is negative. So I'm going to find the slope of each line. I'm going to begin by finding the slope of this line right here. And so I'm just looking for 2 points that fall on that line. So this is a good point, and let's see, this is a good point. So the slope of this line right here, using rise over run, I'm going to go up 1 and right 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Now I'm going to find the slope of this other line. So I'm going to pick 2 points that fall on that line. So this is a good point, and this is a good point. So here, write this up here. I go up 2, and I went to the right 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. So to figure out first, I'm going to see if they're parallel. Is 1 the same number as 2? No, so they're not parallel. Is 1 the opposite reciprocal of 2? No. The opposite reciprocal of 1 would be -1. The opposite reciprocal of 2 would be -1/2. So these are not parallel and not perpendicular, so these are neither. The slopes are not the same, nor are they opposite reciprocals. Let's try example 2. Are the lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? How do you know? So again, you want to start off by finding the slope. It does not matter which line you start with, and it doesn't matter which points you choose. You just want to pick 2 points that fit perfectly. So like, for example, I wouldn't want to pick this point right here because that's off the line, and so it's a decimal. So you want to pick points that line up perfectly with our grid. And so looks like this is a good point. And if I keep going, this is a good point. So the slope of this line right here, using rise over run, I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So -4. And I'm going to the right 1, 2, 3. So the slope of this line is -4/3. Now, I'm just going to get rid of this. Make it easier for me. I am going to look at the slope of this line. And so I'm going to pick 2 points that fall on that line. So this point looks good. And this is going to be another point on that line. So let's see. Using rise over run, I go up 1, 2, 3. So +3. And I go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So, is 3/4 the same number as -4/3? They are not the same, so they're not parallel. Is 3/4 the opposite reciprocal of -4/3? Well, let's see. This number is positive, this number is negative, so they are opposite. Are they reciprocals? Well, if I flip 4/3, it gives me 3/4. So these are perpendicular. So we're going to say perpendicular. The slopes are opposite reciprocals. Let's look at example 3. So on example 3, this line right here, well, we learned that the slope of any horizontal line is 0. So the slope of this line is 0. Here I have another horizontal line. Again, my slope is 0. So are these slopes, whoops, this is 0. Are these slopes the same? Yeah, they are. So because the slopes are the same, they are parallel. They have the same slopes. Go ahead and pause this video and try example 4. So on example 4, we're going to begin by finding the slope of each line. To do that, just pick 2 points that fall on the line. So this is a point on the line. If I keep going, this is a point. So to find the slope, I'm going to do rise over run. And so I go down 1, 2, so -2. And then go to the right 1, 2, 3. So the slope of this line is -2/3. Let me try the slope of the other line. So here's a good point, and here's a good point. So I'm going to use rise over run. And I'm going to go down 1, 2, so that's -2. And I'm going to go to the right 1, 2, 3. So that's -3. Are these slopes the same or opposite reciprocals or neither? They are the same. When we have same slopes, is that parallel or perpendicular? Parallel. So these are parallel lines because they have the same slope.